Today's story is about a soldier with PTSD, and so if that could be triggering for you, I want you to know that up front. It has a very beautiful message of life and helping someone and supporting them, giving them the tools to stay in the fight and to find their way back to a beautiful life. Hi, I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and host of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast. And today we're talking about what chiropractic is and what chiropractic isn't, and how we can share stories that really show the true thing and not just the counterfeit. Okay, today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate, we have a wonderful chiropractor from the great state of Georgia, Dr. Drew Henderson. Thanks for being here.
What's up, Jenna? How are you?
I'm awesome. So Dr. Drew is a friend and he is a board member of Dynamic Essentials. He does a lot for the profession as the vice president of the Georgia Council of Chiropractic. I was asking what we could add to the intro and he said in his mind he's a hell of a race car driver and a great basketball player. So you'll have to either get him out on a racetrack or on a basketball court to test that out.
I don't have enough insurance coverage for that, so I'm going to stay in my seat.
Okay, well, I'm so grateful to have you here and to share this conversation. So we always ask, what's a great story of someone whose life got better with chiropractic care?
I mean, there's thousands of them that we may know, and a lot of them we don't know about. It's just things that they're like, well, shoot, like we haven't seen them in a while, but now, my diabetes went away. Well, whatever it is. But on the way office this morning, I was thinking, who am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
I've talked about him a lot. Like, it happened a while back. This soldier, he was in the conflict right after 9/11, Operation Freedom, or, whatever that they name him. He come back. He just tore up. Like, he just mentally, physically, every which way. And his wife got her number somehow. So she texted us and said, can I bring him in? But he don't do well around like people and crowds. And if it's busy there, he got PTSD and all kinds of other stuff going on. I'm like, yeah, like you want to come morning, evening, before we open, after we close? It don't matter with us. So she came in, brought him in one evening, and, he's like a big Marine dude. And she just like a little wife and just like almost had to carry him in. He was not really saying anything. You could just tell he was on his last leg. And done an exam on him, told him what we do, what we don't do, what chiropractic is, what chiropractic is not, and what we do. Our function, our goal is to find interference in your nervous system. We correct that, and then you function the way God created you to. I don't know about a lot of these other symptoms. We're not symptom chasers, but we'll talk about it, and we'll see where you're going with that. But then we done an exam, made sure that he was a candidate for chiropractic care. He was. Because, some people may not be subluxated. We just can't get them in and just rack them and crack them. Got to make sure they're subluxated. And then make sure there was no contraindications for him getting adjusted. So then we adjusted him. His right side up, his right atlas, set him. And people are like, oh, did you set him deep? Like, no, like you don't have to. Like, just a good, quick toggle. Toggled him. I told him, just lay there a minute. We'll be back. So me and his wife, we went kind of corner. Nobody was here. And we just kind of talking real low about all the stuff he's dealing with and all that. Probably 10 minutes later, come over there. He's still on his side. He's just bawling, just ugly crying, like tears everywhere, snot bubble, like everything. Told him, I was all right, man, get up. Got him some Kleenexes and said, come back. Whatever day it was, it's like a couple of days later. I'm like, come back. Oh, okay. So she had to help him to the car. And then that was it. They come back like a few days later. But before they came back that second visit, I got a text he sent me that I just screenshot from years ago. And I'm going to read it, get my glasses on. And this is like 2 days after he got adjusted. He said, Dr. Drew, I don't like the phrase, a cry for help. I just don't like how it sounds. When I say I'm thinking about suicide, I have a plan. I just need a reason not to do it. The last thing I feel is helplessness. I think depression has been beating me up for years. It's called me ugly and stupid and pathetic and a failure for so long that I've forgotten that it's wrong. I don't see good in myself and I don't have any hope. But still, here I am. I've come over to you, banged on your door and said, hey, staying alive is really hard right now. Just give me something to fight with. I don't care if it's a stick. Give me a stick and I can stay alive. How is that helpless? I think that's incredible. I'm like a Marine, trapped for years behind enemy lines. My gun has been taken away. I'm out of ammo. I'm malnourished and I've probably caught some kind of jungle virus that's making me hallucinate giant spiders. And I'm still just going, give me a stick. I'm not dying out here. A cry for help makes it sound like you're supposed to take pity on me, but I don't need your pity. This isn't pathetic. This is the will to survive. This is how humans have lived long enough to become the dominant species. With no hope, running on nothing, I'm ready to cut through 100 miles of hostile jungle with nothing but a stick, if that's what it takes to get to safety. All you're doing is handing out sticks. Thank you for my life.
Wow.
So, I think he kind of gets it. We just giving out sticks so people can have a fighting chance in life.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have much of a chance.
No, and like the word that he said, like forgotten. He knew before, but forgotten that these voices are false,
Yeah, and we all listen to that crap sometimes. You're not enough. You'll never make it. You're whatever it is. Like we all listen to that crap. That's all it is. It's just that chirping in her ear all the time. But it's false, It's false. But then he come in a few more times. They moved away. And the last time I heard, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he's doing like a cell phone tower install. Had like 1 or 2 babies, however many babies he's had. His wife don't have to work. She gets to stay at home. So, he's doing good. But I'm glad that we got to reset the record almost. How a record skips. Kind of reset the record so his life can go in a better direction. So thankful for that.
Amen. And how often do we say that? Even I still tell the children, oh, something electronic isn't working. Try turning it off and then on again. Try unplugging it. And yeah, those times when you're like, I don't know why the printer's not working. The printer never works. And it's like, well, let's reset the connection. Let's reset the connection between the printer and the computer so that they both know how to do their jobs. The brain and the nervous system know how to do their jobs. But for whatever reason, they're not connecting.
The connection's not right. Like the other day, I was going to print off a stack of paperwork. And me just being in a hurry, I didn't see the setting that said it was going to the label printer. I printed off like 80 pages on like little 4x6 labels. I'm like, what in the world? And then you can't stop it. You think you stop it, oh, this is great. And then you plug it back in, it starts printing again. So I'm like, what in the world? So I just unhooked it for a while. I still hadn't hooked it back up. But like, it's just a setting that needs to be reset.
Yeah. And you talk about this soldier and think, oh, well, the various things that contributed to all of this and made his default setting one of darkness and despair and pain. And so then that becomes his default. But what a beautiful thing. Like we've talked multiple times on the podcast about neuroplasticity. What a beautiful thing that as an adult, that our brain can and our nervous system can begin to heal. So explain to us a little bit, because we know not everybody just automatically gets that reset and heals. What makes the difference? Why is chiropractic helping so that making the difference between somebody whose default setting is never going to change and one whose brain and nervous system begin to heal?
I think a lot of it's just chemistry. If we're secreting good hormones, we're going to have more real thoughts. We're going to have more real actions. But like the hormones just don't secrete themselves. The nervous system tells them to, and then there's a whole nother layer to stuff that's not even chiropractic related that people are dealing with, where there's like spiritual disconnection. And that had nothing to do with chiropractic, really. It's just, there's a lot of layers to people's mental health sometimes. It could be the trauma they've had since they were a child, somebody mean to them that shouldn't have even been around them. But it changes your chemistry. It just changes you. And some of those scars, it's just like a hurt on your arm. And we see see a scar, and it may not ever heal, but those things can be inside too. And I think it's harder for some people to heal from those,
Yeah.
and
And what a beautiful thing to get an adjustment to start changing the momentum, changing the default patterns, changing the trajectory of those things so that hormones can begin to be regulated, emotional, mental health can be better regulated. And like you said, sometimes we carry those marks, but underneath, if there can be healing. I think about even talking about broken bones, that where it heals is going to be strong.
yeah, yeah. And now he's doing well, and I don't know what might have happened in his childhood, but said that he's going to make sure that he's the best dad ever for his kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's not generational trauma. It's going to stop with him,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's it.
generational health being passed down.
Yeah,
For sure. I love too that you bring up spiritual connection because I think that that is something too that you as a person bringing that intention and that love. So while you're doing an adjustment physically, you're also doing it with holding that space and that love for that person.
yeah, and that's what we're called to do. We're called to love people. We need to just love them sometimes. Even though it's hard, it's real hard sometimes to love people, especially certain people, but we have to anyway because that's what we're called to do. And we don't care if it's, meet somebody at 9 o'clock at night or 5 in the morning. If we can do it, if that's what they need and there's no other options, love is a verb, it's not a noun. Love is a verb.
I love that. And also that you are giving them a space, that love opens up the space so that they can feel safe enough. Like you offered the different things. Yes. How can I make you feel safe here with me to know that this is a safe place where you can have a cry for help?
Yeah. And, we try to do that every day. It's great to have that space.
It is. It is. So something that you talk about, even if somebody searches for you there in Murrayville, Georgia, something that they're going to see is that you talk about being a principled chiropractor. So what makes principled chiropractic different? What is that?
Yeah. And I really even hate we have to say principled chiropractic. There's chiropractic and then there's not chiropractic. If we're doing anything that you can get somewhere else besides a chiropractic office, it's not chiropractic. And I'm not harping on pillows or anything, but if you're selling pillows, you can buy pillows at Walmart and at Target. That's not chiropractic. If you're selling mattresses, not chiropractic. If you're doing physiotherapy, not chiropractic because you can go to the PT and get it. So why you want to have a duplication of services? But chiropractic is correction and detection of the vertebral subluxation. That's it. If you're doing anything else, it's not chiropractic. And we're happy to say that we only do chiropractic.
Yeah. So, as we always talk about stories, why is it important to you that chiropractors share these stories so that people know what chiropractic is?
I mean, like, you go to a great chiropractor and like he can tell you too, like people will come in, we adjust them. They're like, what was that? When do I get on the machine? Like that was an adjustment. That's chiropractic. We don't have any machines. We'll see you in 3 days. We'll check you again, make sure you're doing good. But why is it important is that people don't know. And then when they don't know, we get some of the stuff that we see in Montana and places where they're wanting to try to give us prescriptive rights. And we only won that by like a few votes. That's crazy. And I'm not against medicine. I think the world would be a bad place without allopathic medicine. If I get mangled up in a car and like my arm is cut off, they can put it back on. Like how amazing is that? If I live a terrible life and have heart attack and they need to open my heart up, they'll stop my heart, pump it through this machine, repair my heart, and then get it beaten again. That's amazing. But that's nothing that we do. We should not be involved in that at all.
Yeah. Well, and that legislation made me think of a couple of things because, like you just said, my husband is a firefighter paramedic. And so if he goes on a code blue where someone is not breathing, where they need to do CPR, then he's going to grab his box of drugs. And as a paramedic, they're under the provision of the emergency room doctor, but he's going to use, epinephrine. He's going to use all of these different drugs, and those are an amazing thing that we can do and life-saving thing. But we don't just take a shot of epi because we want to. So it is that distinction of services and what is in your scope of practice. It makes me think too. So my mom is a midwife, and back when so it would have been in the 90s, mid 90s, she was prosecuted, and the Board of Healing Arts went up to the Kansas Supreme Court because they said she was practicing medicine without a license as a midwife. And so it kind of makes me relate this to chiropractic, where chiropractic is not the same thing as practicing medicine in this scope of practice. Midwifery is not practicing medicine in that scope of license. Everybody should have their own certification, their own degrees, so that everybody can stay in their scope of practice and the whole population thrives that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and stay in your lane. B.J. Palmer talked about accidents happen when you get close to that yellow line. Stay in your lane. I could give a rip about laser fat loss. I mean, I'm sure it helped me. It helped a lot of people. But, that has nothing to do with chiropractic. And talk about practicing medicine without a license. Dr. Sid built the Bell Tower at Life University to honor the people that was put in jail for practicing medicine without a license. They called it chiropractic. Or it was chiropractic, but they called it medicine without a license. They were in prison, in prison. And then if you stay in your lane, like we take care of PTs, we take care of OTs, we take care of orthopedic surgeons, like they get it. When the last one just first come in, I'm like, hey, what's up? What you want, man? Didn't think he's getting adjusted. He just like, man, I just need to get adjusted. But he knows, and our reputation is that we're only doing chiropractic. We don't tell people not to take their drugs. We don't tell people not to do this or do. I don't have a clue. That's out of my scope too.
Yeah.
But I know everybody needs to get checked.
Yeah, being able to refer, to be like, I don't do that here, but, maybe I have a connection. Maybe I can refer you to where, if you need something else, just like the dentist, the dentist is going to say, oh boy, you're going to need oral surgery. I'm going to send you to the oral surgeon.
Yeah, but now if the dentist tries to do a breast exam, you need to get a new dentist.
Probably that'd be a good idea.
And people laugh, but that's what chiropractors are doing that are doing medical procedures.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think as we tell the stories, for the general population to understand that what chiropractic is, because they've seen the stories, they've heard the stories, they've heard chiropractors who are sharing, this is the adjustment, this is what I do. Like you explained, the thorough evaluation, the thorough assessment, the identification and the correction of vertebral subluxations. If we can turn the tide of the general population expects chiropractic, what a glorious day that will be. I was thinking about people who test for counterfeit money. They don't learn the million different ways that you could counterfeit money. What they study is the real thing. So they know the real thing so well that as soon as something counterfeit pops up, they're like, that's not it, because I know the real thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's going to help people. I talked to a student the other day, and he's got great intentions. He just wants to help people. I just want to make them feel better. So what wrong is it for me to spend really no more amount of time, maybe 2 minutes, and help them feel better? He said because they're stressed. I'm like, but now if they're stressed, what's the number one stressor in most people's lives is money. You should just give them money, and you think 2 minutes is not that bad. But if you see like 150 people a day, that's 300 minutes. That's 5 hours of rubbing on them. 2 minutes apiece. 2 minutes apiece. That's a lot of time. That's almost how much we're open every day. We're open 6.5, and it would be rubbing on them.
Yeah, so I appreciate how you do things with the Georgia Chiropractic Council of Chiropractic and all of those things, even that you have regular speakers who are sharing and learning. If there are chiropractors who are like, okay, well, how do I get into this realm of staying in my lane more? What would you suggest to them? How can chiropractors learn more?
Just reach out to us. We have tons of events at GCC, probably 15 events, 20 events a year. We're going to have one, not this weekend, but next weekend. Come to that. Come to Dynamic Essentials. We're going to have that April 10th through the 13th. Call any of us and we'll help. We don't have all the answers, but we have some answers. I can tell you how we do it here. And that don't mean that's the only way to do it, but I can tell you how we do it. It's an open book. People will call, be like, hey, can I come by the office? Is that a burden? Like, no, it's not a burden. Just come by anytime. You don't even have to call. It's not like we have to go hide something when you come. We're just here taking care of people. And it's really just making those connections. Like we know people that are great chiropractors. They're loving, humble servants, but they're just in their own little bubble. They never go to anything. They get their continuing ads online every other year, and then every other year they'll show up here and there, but they're not really connected. And then they just look so down and beat up. It's like, dude, like, connect to us. You know, we're here for you. Just show up. Let's go eat. Let's just be together. We're comrades. You know, that's probably not the best word to use right now, but you know, that's what it is. You know, we're all friends.
Yeah.
In this.
In French, a friendlier word for friend is copain. And so it's spelled like as if the word for bread is pain. So I always kind of remember it as like, you know, your bread buddy. It's your bread buddy. And yeah, that is so true that we get so isolated and think that we have to reinvent the wheel and figure things out. What are some of your favorite ways to just show up in your community and share chiropractic?
Well, like you said, we love basketball. We love racing. I love racing. Dr. Claudia does not so much. I do sponsor a couple of cars at the racetrack, so that's fun. We go see them, like dirt track, you know, right? It's country stuff. I went to a fight and a race broke out, you know, like but it's great. Everybody sees on the hood of the car, Murrayville Family Chiropractic, Murrayville Family Chiropractic, every lap. And basketball games, University of North Georgia women's team, they just did the big tournament, 64-team tournament, Division II. First round starts tonight at home. So we always have like hospitality suite. We always just go meet people. Dr. Sid always said it doesn't matter who you know. It matters who knows you. You know, all the presidents at the school that's been there the last 20 years, like, they know us. They know us. And not just like, hey, I know him. It's just like, text us like, hey, do you want to come over? I've got some bread I just made in my new bread maker. Like, yeah, we'll come. That's great. But it's just making those connections. All the marketing stuff works. Use you. We use all your stuff, all those memes, and then you can just schedule them out. Get like 150, not memes, whatever. The graphics from you. You can get light or pastel. We found the pastel kind of works better for us because it seems like more women just force their husbands to go in sometimes. So, you know, we make it geared toward women more soft. And like we get your stuff and we'll just schedule them out for 6 months. Then we don't have to think about it.
Well, and that is the thing. Like, it's such a valid point that you aren't just, you know, setting Facebook ads and thinking like, oh, our reach and awareness is done. We've got a $19 adjustment ad running and that's it. It's more work to make those connections, build those relationships, be in your community. But why would we not? Like, you can't become invisible in your community when you're there at basketball games, when you're sharing, and you share to your stories like, oh, our North Georgia women's team and stuff. And it's not with an ulterior motive. You just love them and share them and care about them. You're just there to be part of your community, to serve and to love them. And then, yeah, when those people who see your car can then be like, where are they? Where is their address? And then they can pull you up online and actually find you. That's the best. That's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and we don't even really do any hardcore marketing. It's just like, we're here.
Yes. Like,
you need it. Find us if you want it, you know. And then like basketball games, we have another patient of ours that makes all these t-shirts. Like, hey, since that's a public school, I think you can use the logo for free. I'm not sure, but she does. She'll make us t-shirts to wear with like logo on the front and say something special for the game. And then like our big office logo in the back, we sat like second row because that's where I've sat in the gym for almost 25 years. That's where I sit, like second row, like first 2 seats in. That's my seat, the left 3-point line. But like everybody behind us sees our matching shirts that says Murrayville Family Chiropractic. And then I got to talk to him tonight. I think next season we're going to do like every single men and women's game at home, half court shot with like however many students they pick, maybe 3 each game or 5, whatever. If they make it, they get $250. Just like there's a good chance they're not going to make it at all. But then there's a good chance that it cost me like $4,800. You know what I mean? So it just, or not a good chance, but there's a possibility it will. But, nobody will probably make it. And that's great. But then it's just that free, like, hey, yeah, Murrayville Family Chiropractic's putting this on. They willing to give us $250 if we can make this shot from half court.
Yeah, that's a really fun idea. I can feel how much you're just having fun with it.
Yeah, it's fun. And like gratitude too. Like in hospitality suite, they have us food and everything, and we'll hear chatter of people like, yeah, I called them and complained that this was not good. And got an email yesterday about big tournament, going to be bigger, all the stuff, get there early. And I just replied to both of them that we thank y'all so much for doing all the stuff you do. The food's amazing. We would be happy with like cookies and soda crackers. But like we get entrees, we get full course meal, but we would be happy with cookies and crackers. So like y'all knock it out of the park every time. Just that gratitude. And they're already just like, oh man, that's great. It means a lot to hear that, but we do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And how much of a connection and relationship builder gratitude is when people are like, oh, I want to be strategic and, how do I comment on other accounts? And it's like, well, just starting with some love and gratitude. Like, I loved your sandwich. Your Monte Cristo sandwich was amazing. Thank you for great service at lunch today.
Yeah.
Comment that.
Yeah. And like, this season, we were playing, I think, Flagler College, and I was heckling this one player pretty bad. And I'm like, I need to find out some more info on him. Got on his Instagram, found out that he had lost his dad like 2 years ago. Then I felt horrible. So then I friended him, and just after the game, I'm like, dude, you played a great game. I'm glad we won, but you played a great game. He's like, yeah, I think I heard you. I'm like, yeah, that was me, but nothing derogatory. And then this morning I saw on Instagram, he was thanking Flagler. He's a senior. Thanking them for the 4 years that he was there, all the stuff, thanking everybody. And I just commented like, heck yeah, boy, like B-O-I-I-I, And then he texted me a little bit ago before we got on here, like, hey, you're a chiropractor. Do you know anybody down here in Jacksonville or wherever Flagler's at? I'm like, I do. I'll send you their stuff. And it's just those little connections. It's not crazy. It's just like, way to go, dude. You're crushing it,
Yeah.
You're crushing it.
Yeah, and, we realize, especially as adults, how rare it is to get a text message. I always appreciate when you text me. It's rare to get a message in the mail. It's rare to get a text message, somebody just lifting you up. I have some notes up here on my wall. One is from Dr. Steve LaFay, another is from Dr. Katina Manning, and it touches us when somebody reaches out, encourages us, expresses gratitude, expresses love. So, how much of our marketing can just be having fun with it and showing gratitude?
Yeah, and this is not why we go, but like we live in a small community. If somebody dies, we go to the funeral home. Just show up at the funeral home, and just don't have to stay long. Just give your condolences. But then it's not like, especially like some older people, they're just like, oh my gosh, our chiropractor's here. Come over here. You got to meet everybody, and we're not doing it for that. But it's just that when you live in that gratitude space, they're happy to see you,
Absolutely. Well, I know we could keep talking all day, and we will again, but I'm going to put links for people to find the GCC and DE and all of those things and where to connect with you. I'm going to put your social media links because you and Dr. Claudia always do great videos, and that's such an inspiring thing for people to see, just like that you can show up and do a video for a couple of minutes and keep going. And it's the consistency. It doesn't have to be like the world stopped and we did a production. So I appreciate that.
Just do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Just do it on the fly. And if you want to be a member of the fiercest state organization in the United States, I believe out-of-state membership's cheap for GCC. So join up.
Okay. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. And thank you so much for all you do for chiropractic and the world and for me.
Thank you. Yeah, you're doing a lot. We appreciate all your sacrifice.
Oh, love you guys.
Yeah, we do you.